call the meeting to order. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Your speaker's not doing very well. Light might be on, but the mic might be bad. Okay, thank you.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Greg, would you take roll call, please?
Okay, I'm sorry, yep. Chairman Chris Brandt is ill. Vice Chairman Mark Johns.
Present.
Bruce Dumbolt.
Here.
Greg Walters.
Here.
Sarah Corona. Jennifer Ahrens.
Here.
Ann Himes.
Here.
And I'm here, okay. We do have a quorum.
Okay, were there any comments from the minutes from last meeting? If they haven't already been forwarded to Greg?
I was absent on the December 26th meeting, and you might have been here? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, good catch.
All right, I'll make that correction.
Any others?
So you'll need a motion and a second then if you're going to accept them, unless there's further corrections.
This isn't normally my job. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Any seconds?
I second.
Thank you. And it looks like we have no public input, but we want to introduce the supervisor.
Yep, I think so. That'd be great. We do have a guest. If you haven't met him, it's our supervisor. So welcome, and if you have something you'd like to say,
Just want to say thanks for the invitation, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and also thanks for preserving the greatness of our town. Feel my voice, I'm a little hoarse, but I'm okay.
Thank you.
I guess I would, I don't want to, because your voice, but if there's anything that you would like to say that, if you're prepared, if you're not, that's fine. Or if there's any questions that they have, are you entertaining any questions, or do you have any questions for the board?
And yet I'm going to just sit back and listen and
Okay,
answer any questions you have.
okay.
Do we want to do a little quick intro of ourselves, just to give the supervisor an idea of who we are and how long we've been on the board, so he has a sense of what we are? You want to start?
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Jennifer Ahrens. I'm an architect. I work at Bureau Architecture. We primarily do historic preservation work, and I've only served on the board a year and a couple months. So I'll be on until
2029.
2029, yeah. So just happy to bring sort of my professional. I'm new to Arundecoit. I moved in 2017. I live over in Huntington Hills and love the history of that neighborhood and love Durand Eastman Park above all else. So happy to be a resident of Arundecoit now.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Greg Walther. Been on the Preservation Commission since, I think, 2001. So I've been here for a little while. I'm a real estate agent, and I live on St. Paul Boulevard in Arundecoit.
In a historic home.
In one of our historic designated homes as well, yeah.
Without a plaque, but hopefully we'll take care of that.
Without a plaque. It's soon to come, right?
I'm Mark Johns. I'm a landscape architect with Bergman, now known as Colliers. I've been on the board, gosh, I don't know, at least 10 years. I know you guys were on when I joined, so
I think everybody was, I think I was here when everybody got here.
yeah, so at least 10 years. And I'm not sure when my term expires, but maybe in
2026.
2026, because we think we've all been re-upped one term too, so. And I live on St. Paul Boulevard as well, so not a designated historic house, but
I'm Bruce Dumbald, and I am an architect, but I'm also retired, and I have no plans to work again. I think I've been on the board 19 years now. I know Greg was here when I got here, but yeah, so Greg and I have been here quite a long time. So, and my term expires this year, and I'm undecided as to whether I would. No, I probably wouldn't do another 7 years actually, but anyway, 19 years is probably good enough.
I'm Ann Himes. I've been a Rondequoit resident for 14 years, but I am new to the board here. This is my first meeting actually serving on it, and I'm excited to be a part.
all right, great, thank you. It looks like, I don't think we have any new business. Am I correct on that, Greg?
There's no public input and there's no new applications, correct?
Right. So we just have the liaison report, and I believe that's you, Greg?
Yep. Okay, as a liaison to this board, I'm also the liaison to the Historical Society, which is a nonprofit membership organization. And at our last Board of Directors meeting, the supervisor did attend, and we learned about potential for submitting monies for increase in our budget. We are aware, and Jennifer, I'm sure, will express some additional information shortly, but the Historical Society did hire a contractor to do assessments on those two buildings. And when we receive those assessments, we'll be able to identify a priority and a rough budget as to what needs to be done and in what fashion it needs to be done. The two buildings I'm speaking about are the Pioneer House and the blacksmith shop, which are both on the town hall property. Both are the oldest buildings known to Arundequoit right now. They go back to even before Arundequoit was a town. They were moved here from their location, which was on Ridge Road. They were moved here in the last 25 years, 30 years. And there really hasn't been any maintenance or upkeep done on them that's been done correctly. And so some of the things need to be changed. And so we had this audit done, and Jennifer can speak on what that was all about. So we took some of the things that the Historical Society thought were important, and we were able to get some ideas on some figures so we could submit that for you, which we did. Yes, your assistant, your executive assistant there. So we did that on last Thursday. It was due, so I did get that in, and she did acknowledge it, and I thank you for that. There is a copy, and the material I passed out just for reference, but not for, it's just a reference so you can see what we submitted here. One of the things we did add on that budgetary wish list was for the plaques. We have 21 properties that this board has designated over the last 20 years, 25 years, that are missing plaques. So we did submit that in the request. The plaques that we had a price on were $207 a piece. They were cast aluminum, and I think that, Mark, I think you're going to speak on that in a little bit. So we added that into the budget, and it's a wish list budget. And the itemized areas are on the document that I passed out this evening. The total comes to $108,290.60. It's a wish list. I really don't have anything else as the historian to add right now. We have some new opportunities in the historian's office. We're just getting started with some new leadership in the Historical Society. Also with this board, we have some things that we're going to follow up from last year. On the minutes that I provide each month, I want to add a section on the bottom that's the parking lot. And what the parking lot is things that you may get something that we would address in September and table it for further information, and then table it again in October, maybe again in November if we don't have the information, and then it might get lost. So the parking lot would identify those items that were tabled and when they were tabled. It doesn't mean that they passed or failed. It just reminds us that they're still not finalized. So I would call that the parking lot. So we would have new business, old business, good and welfare, and then at the end of the report, I would have the parking lot, which would identify, we have a couple of things outstanding right now. We have the code codification. We have still outstanding some things from 690 Titus Avenue. We have the plaques that are outstanding, and this way here we don't lose them. So if I'm going to put them in a parking lot beginning the next set of minutes, and then every month we'll know what's still needs to be addressed. That's all I have, sir.
And so just for clarification, the wish list budget total that you mentioned, it's really 3 separate items totaled. One was for the historian's office,
Right.
For like $6,000-ish. The Preservation Commission, which is us, was for 4,000 something for the plaques. And then the bulk of it, which was the 93,000, was for the improvements, hopeful improvements to the blacksmith shop and the Pioneer House.
Yeah, what happens is the historian serves on behalf of the town board. And so I'm an employee of the town. And so as a liaison, I can accept your wish list and put it into my budget. So it's requested from the historian's office, but it was divided by the 3 elements. And I'm going to let the supervisor speak on what that's all about, because I'm not aware of this happening before where there's potential monies from the state. So I'm going to let him explain that because I was just excited.
So I'll try to get through this before losing my voice again. So every year, the state and federal government goes through a budget process like we do. And what we've done is failed to request of it's all our tax dollars. We failed to request of our representatives the things that we need. And his history is huge. But most people don't really look at it that way, or don't think that there's a need to preserve history. So what I've encouraged the historian Merrick to do is to request the things that we need in Irondequoit, so that I can then go to the state and the federal government as they go through their budget process now and in February, and see if we can pull some of those dollars and some of those grants down to what we need to preserve in Irondequoit. As you know, one of the older towns in New York, with both the history of Native, the majority, but there's also a lot of non-traditional history that we don't look at. From an anthropological point of view, do we know what women felt in the 1890s? Do we know what the immigrants' life was like? And has that history been preserved? So there's a big history that makes us now that we've overlooked, and I'd like to capture those things. And we begin capturing is preserve what we know so that we can expand out to what we have. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. No, that's great. I just wanted to make it clear to the audience that we weren't requesting $100,000 for the Historic Preservation Commission. That's all. I just want to make sure that it was clear.
Right, it's it's collective, thank you, from the Historical Society, which is the docent for our two properties that the town's responsible for, but it would have, the money would have to be raised through grants or potentially through what the supervisor's able to get. And this is our first time hearing about this. It's at least our first time making an application for it, and I'm only speaking for the last 3 years. So what I did as the liaison is I was able to pull together, I know you're looking for the plaques, and I know the historian's office is looking for some materials that would more effectively store periodicals, because you can't use regular tape or regular glue or just regular plastic because it doesn't preserve the parchment and everything else. Right, right. So we put that in there, and then we put in the priority list for things that have gone unmaintained and are putting those two buildings in jeopardy of failure, and we want to preserve those. So that's what that came out with. It was a wish list, and it wasn't just a wish list that we just put figures to. We took the estimate that you got for a plaque and multiplied it by the 21 plaques that we need, and then there were some other items that we had prices on, and we just extrapolated the cost and came up with that figure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I don't believe we have any correspondence either, so we can move right into old business.
Can I talk for a second about the Pioneer House and the Cobblestone Blacksmith, the report?
No, yes.
Yeah. So
Yes, it is.
kind of tagging along with what you're talking about in getting grants. My company, Bureau Architecture, with Jensen BRV Engineering, which is a structural engineering company, spent a day doing like a quick report of site visit to the buildings, along with Tom Werzer, who a mechanical engineer that evaluated the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. So we're putting together a report with cost estimates that prioritize repairs that need to be made to the system, the building systems. And so I'm looking at the list you put together, Greg, and we'll get you the report as soon as possible. I think you're addressing a lot of them. There is some repairs at the blacksmith shop that we might say is a little bit more of a priority, but the idea is that they would take the report, the Historical Society, as a 501c3, not-for-profit. They could take that and go seek grants for the actual bricks and mortar work, the repair work. And we have identified some sources for grant opportunities that they'd be able to use this report to submit it as part of the grant application process, get that money, and then secure the work. So we're like 90% done. It's just I'm the only one that I haven't finished editing and helping Chris put the numbers together.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, now we can go to old business. Sorry, I didn't see that in the liaison report. So I'm basically just going to read Chris's email, his follow-up email, where he has some additional information. Regarding the designated landmark plaques, we've talked about that. We have some pricing on it, and I recently got additional pricing from a more local source, so I think that looks even more favorable, and I'm going to follow up with them on getting prices for that. He also suggested a change to the plaque itself. I don't know if you guys are familiar. This is what we've ordered in the past. It's basically that plaque, and the number, the year would change depending on what the year of the house was. But Chris has suggested, I have it here somewhere. Here. He has suggested, I don't know if I have more copies. No, I don't. He has suggested this, which the difference is, it says, this property is a designated landmark of the town of Arundecoit and built with the year. He feels it's more clear and consistent with the code. I don't have a problem with it.
Look at that.
It just will say built
Oh,
and not historic property. It'll say that
okay.
this property is a designated landmark along the top,
okay.
and then of the town of Arundecoit. So I would substitute this for the that plaque when I send the proofs to the plaque company, if and when we get a budget for them. But this will be the new plaque. All right. Regarding the townwide historic resource survey, he said that we're still waiting for town council to review it before we can issue the RFP. He said he reached out multiple times and followed up again today. If anyone can help us in getting it reviewed from town council, that would be greatly appreciated. We had originally anticipated sending it out before January 1st, I believe. We were going to do it early or near the end of last year because we have a time schedule. We have to spend the money by a certain time. We received a state grant for this townwide historic resource survey. Pardon? Okay. So, yeah, we're just waiting on that before we can send it out to advertise it to get solicitations for it. Regarding the landmark designation letter and pamphlet, he thinks that the 8.5 by 11 is good for the letter, and to avoid specialized envelopes, he thinks using either legal or the letter for the pamphlet would be acceptable.
Can I just have a refire on the, so on the review, anything you need to review by the board, I didn't get any transition materials, so it just may be out there in the ether. So please have it sent to my office in the morning, and we'll get it on the agenda to review in the upcoming meeting.
For the RFP? Okay. All right, I'll make sure I let Chris know. Yeah, I think he said that the Village of Fairport and Brighton have pamphlets that size, and they seem to work well. So I don't know if Sarah's been given the green light yet. I think some of us had to review it yet or wanted to review it, but I don't know if anyone had any additional comments on the pamphlet yet or at all.
To keep things moving, we can, while you're reviewing it, I can meet with her again to pick out images that we can, because we talked about that as the next step, selecting images or map files or to show everyone and then kind of get a vote on.
And now that you know the size, it'll be easier,
Yeah.
especially if we need to cut text a little bit more to add more images on it, so,
Okay.
okay.
And you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd like to see what the drafts are looking like.
I'll include you in the, oh, that might be more than a public meeting, though. What's the law about if you have more than 2 people, it's a public meeting? If we're meeting as we're meeting to work on a pamphlet that will be like educational material for the community that talks about the work of the Preservation Commission. And so that's really what we're getting together to do. And we just meet at the library.
Yeah, I think you can do it as an executive session, which you have the right to call. Start the meeting, move into executive session with the purpose and the intent. I'll check with my lawyers. I don't think that it constitutes, because you're not talking about town business, you're just simply developing a product. So I personally don't think that it constitutes a public meeting, because it has a purpose that you're bringing back to the public. But I'll check with our legal team to make sure.
Add that to your email.
Yeah.
Mark, add that to your email.
Oh, to Chris's email?
If they meet together, are they allowed to do that? Like, you're sending an email to the supervisor?
Yeah,
You want to add that thing to your email, probably?
Yeah, and to follow up on.
Yeah.
But in summary, what I understood is because it's a subcommittee that's not taking any business in action, only development that's going to bring back to the board for any action and input, that it's not a meeting, it's just a subcommittee development and not an action item.
and so would it, the executive,
Well, this is what the supervisor's going to check into, that they can do it, but they can't take any action. They can't come back and say, this is what we're going to do. The board has to act on it, and the public has to have the opportunity to address, but I'll let you speak.
Yeah, the public law, or the public meetings law, has kind of been taken a little bit too far to the right. It does allow you to have a real life, and it does allow you to have things like developing a pamphlet in place where you can do the town's business, as long as you're not discussing town business. And when you're together, it doesn't constitute a violation of the meeting law. For example, if you were to get together and you were to start discussing what you're going to do about an action in the town with 3 or more, then you violate the town law. If you're together and you're talking about your kids' birthdays and you're not discussing town law or town business, then it's not a violation of the public law.
But they're going to be...
Discussing it's not...
put pictures and say, which one do we...
I personally don't think that is a violation, but I'll check with the lawyers to make sure. But I don't think that is a violation of anything other than meeting as a subcommittee so you can do the business of the town.
thank you. Regarding the Wimbledon Preservation District, he's been able to progress the draft, and it's nearly done. He talked to Virginia Bartos at SHPO regarding the submission and the review process. He said we've been tentatively scheduled for the June 12th State Review Board meeting, and we'll need to provide an owner notification list and select a date and time for a public meeting led by SHPO, which can be done via Zoom or in person by March 28th. The final nomination draft will need to be fully complete and sent to Virginia no later than April 10th. So we've got a little bit of time to do that. But it sounds like he's been able to do it without our help. I mean, we were waiting for him to tell us what to do, and maybe it was easy for him to just do it instead of divvying it all up. That's all I have from Chris on that. Regarding the marker design updates, I haven't progressed that at all from the last time you saw it. I've been focusing on the plaques. So once the plaques are settled, I will finish on that. Or what I was planning on doing was meeting with the DPW sign guys just to see if what I came up with is easy enough for them to do and roughly what it would cost. So. That's all that I have. I don't know if anybody has anything else, or anything to add or questions.
Did we talk about Wimbledon? All that has to be done still?
I just
Do
did.
we need- Well, one thing I don't understand is, do we have to get compliance from everybody? Like, what did he mean by in his email about the compliance?
I think it's just a final public meeting.
Do we have to get people to sign off on it individually, or is it?
He didn't say that.
That's what I don't understand, really.
I don't know either. I don't know if it's like a majority, if they'll vote on it. I don't know. But
Yeah.
that would be handled, I
I
guess,
was
through
seeing if
the.
anybody else on the, if you guys ever ran into this, like what we gotta do with that? Okay. That's when I was reading his email, I was wondering that part, like, what
Okay.
exactly is involved with the compliance of the residents there on Wimbledon? They just gotta, we just have to have a certain number show up and they gotta identify what address they are, and is that it, or?
I thought we had that before. We had like a majority, and people have already gotten, they've already applied for and gotten some of the tax breaks on it. So I would think it's just a formality then.
Formality, okay.
To get it finalized.
Okay.
I don't know any more than that.
This is my first go around with this too, so we're really relying on Chris's experience with this, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, it's a first.
novel thing for me.
It's a first for all of us, the town too. It's the first one. So.
Yeah, we're talking about Wimbledon Road. We're looking to get that on the National Registry of Historic Places. That street of Wimbledon.
It's a section of Wimbledon between,
Yeah.
what is it, Clinton and,
Between Seneca and St. Paul.
it's not as far as St. Paul. It's
Yeah, I think it's going back
one block
east. It's going one block east from St. Paul, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me why? Is it historic?
Yeah, apparently that section of Wimbledon was built by this developer, and he had a unique model at the time where he had kind of like a few standard footprints, but with options that you could add to it, like front porches or side porches or different facade treatments. So it was kind of like a mix and match, but they're tastefully designed, and it's different than what exists anywhere else. And it was a unique model at the time. And Chris actually lives in that section of neighborhood, and he had his house put on the National Register for all those reasons too. So SHPO recognizes that that's something.
Yeah, he lives in the model home for the development, and it was quite publicized at the time of the development. And the purpose for doing the National Register District is to allow then residents to be able to use the tax credit, to apply for residential tax credits so that they can apply that to exterior repairs to maintain their house, really.
And this has been a few years in the works, so we had a public meeting, actually a couple of them, already with the residents, and the majority of them were on board, and we had a public meeting on the street one Saturday morning as well with the residents, and so I think it's pretty positive.
It would be great if we can put that on a short video that describes why it's historic, so that the rest of Rundecoit can have a reference to see. We can post on the YouTube channel or Facebook, and just gives more information about the uniqueness of our town. So that's great, yeah.
Yes, great idea. And that's why we want to do that pamphlet too, so people understand that there's some benefits to it, and it's not, having your house designated as a historic property isn't a bad thing, it's a positive thing, so, yeah.
We actually could do almost like a PowerPoint slideshow because we have photos of every house and we also have some neighborhood shots down the street that we use for the submission, so I think we have like everything we
Yeah,
need to do
that'd be
it.
great. Yep,
Yeah, all that stuff's on our. We have all that stuff available on the Google Drive, right?
drive, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have shots of the,
Greg has access to that.
shots of the Saturday morning meeting too, you know, we have all that stuff, all the good PR photos, so. And we'll have them for the upcoming meeting as well.
Yeah, it's also a publicity thing to bring more attention to the town that we're involved with, you know, the history of the neighborhoods, the architecture. It's a good thing for notoriety. Not a lot of other towns have. This is our first one, but there's a lot, like Brighton has historic districts.
City or
Obviously, the city does. Like, it's just
The whole village of Pittsford is a district.
Yeah, so it's long overdue for Aronico at least to get one area. We're hoping to have more, but this is our first start at this.
Yep. And the other thing that's sort of been spearheaded by this team here is that RFP that we were talking about, the Historic Resource Survey. What that is for is to hire a third-party professional historian to evaluate the town, to identify potential landmarks, to identify potential districts, so that if something comes up that wants to be designated or not be designated, it already has a determination through the State Historic Preservation Office. So it's a document that can be used for planning for both the town and for grassroots groups, or for people who want to designate their own houses and things.
And it'll give us like a master plan, and also it gives us documentation or reasons. If we do cite a building, then we have justification for it, and it's not just, seems arbitrary, or just because this developer decided to do something, now we're acting. It gives us more proactive means. So, all right, I guess if there's nothing else, do we have a motion to call it?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.